Such a privilege for all of us to be able to welcome him to the stage to talk about how do we make purpose happen now.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Very nice. All right, thank you for that nice introduction. Good morning. Everybody waking up? It's about, what is it? It's about 7 o'clock my time. All right, I'm ready to go. Usually my kids are coming in, you know, Dad, get up, get up, get up. Anyway, it's an honor to be here with all of you today because I just have got so much respect for what Net Impact does. And I've always wanted a chance to speak here at this conference. So thank you, and you know, you're bringing a lot of meaningful conversation to the forefront in business, and that's critical at this point in time. So I'm encouraged to see Cheryl, Shannon, and I up here in front of all of you today for a few reasons. One of them is that purpose-driven is no longer just the work of nonprofits, right? We love the work that they do, and we need them to keep doing it, but it's not just their job, right? We're also seeing, as Shannon said, we're starting to see where big companies, big, large companies are taking CSR from an initiative at an organization and a plug-on into integrating it into the way and how they think about running their business and making decisions. And then you've got mission-driven companies like a Cliff Bar who is starting to demonstrate that you can run these models at scale. So we've reached a tipping point where companies are either going to start to integrate purpose into the fabric of their organizations, into the DNA of how they make decisions, or they're going to risk losing market share. There's no question in my mind. And this is being driven today in large part by the millennial generation, you guys, because you're voting with your dollars. I saw the other day where 75% of millennials said they'd pay more for a product if it came from a sustainable company. Do you guys see that in Forbes? It's a powerful statement. And that is echoing through boardrooms across America. And CEOs, as we heard from Shannon, they have to pay attention. But those other roughly 66% who aren't listening or not acting on it today, that's a recipe for disaster. So 20 years ago, Cliff Bar introduced this radical, what was at the time, this radical idea to run our business based on 5 bottom lines. We call them today our aspirations: sustaining our business, our brands, our people, our community, and our planet. And you'll notice here that we have it depicted as a wheel on a bike. And this isn't just because our founder had the idea for Cliff Bar while riding on a 5-mile bike ride. But it also has to do with the fact that these are interdependent, right? That's the idea of pulling CSR from an initiative into how you think about your business on a daily basis. How many cyclists do we have here? Okay, what happens when the tension on those spokes isn't the same? What happens to the wheel? Womp, 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 right? It starts to wobble. So it's a metaphor that we use to think about keeping the tension tight on all 5 of these things as we make decisions large and small. And we run it through this filter every time we make a decision to think about how best can we come up with a holistic decision that considers all 5 of these stakeholders. So 2 decades later, I'm proud to say that we've demonstrated that by doing well in the world, we've been able to do well for our business. So over the weekend, you're going to hear from many inspiring leaders talking about them starting up their own organizations or them leading companies that are mission-driven. And I know you're on your path to learn how to do it, right? And to accelerate your own individual path to purpose. You're the kind of bright, enlightened, can-do people we need running these companies in the future. And you're going to take these 5 aspiration business models to levels that me and my peers can't even recognize or think about today. But I'm here not just to reinforce your desire and your hunger to do great things and to do them now. For some of you in college and as you're early in your careers, this is a tough time because you're thinking, you know, what am I going to do and where am I going to do it? Right? There are a lot of expectations. You're probably getting asked questions from your mom and dad or your friends or your aunt and uncle saying, hey, where are you going next? What are you going to do? Right? That can be pretty stressful. And while it's a very exciting time, it can also be a very stressful time. So finding that place for impact can almost feel like an overwhelming sense of burden. So I came on stage today to give you permission to let go of that short-term expectation of where's next, right? To tell you that you can hold tight to your passions and at the same time let up on where is next. Because the first steps to a career with purpose, it doesn't have to start with starting the next Cliff Bar or joining the perfect mission-driven organization. Some of you, I'm certain, are going to do that, and that's awesome. But it's not going to be the way for everybody, and that's okay. Because today, there are so many different paths to purpose. Right? There is, in every industry today, as I mentioned earlier, and Shannon mentioned, purpose is showing up. So there's going to be a lot of different ways for us to get there. And I truly believe that where you land first matters less than what you set out on this journey to learn. What's that job you want to understand? What's that industry that you want to learn? Because those are the skills that you're going to need to lead these purpose-driven organizations as we go into the future. And some of that learning is not going to look like mission-driven or purpose-driven work, but it's going to enable you to lead at a company like Cliff. So let me start by telling you a little bit about me at my age. I'm now 51, and not so unlike Shannon, I was a little clueless as well. So this is me graduating Cal Berkeley. We got any Berkeley? All right, there we go. Go blue and gold. Nice. So this is me with my mom graduating Cal Berkeley in 1988. And I think outside of a few extra pounds and more hair, I look pretty much the same, right? Huh? Yeah? All right. But I'm not going to bury the lead here. I didn't have this purpose stuff-driven thing figured out, not even close. Right? And at the time, if you would ask me then what my purpose was, well, I guess my purpose is to go make money and to go lead. But I'm going to cut myself a little slack because back 30 years ago, there wasn't a whole lot of purpose-driven companies outside of nonprofits, right? I can't even think of one today. So I'm going to cut myself a little slack. So I started down the path of conventional companies, places like Quaker Oats and R.R. Donnelley. These are companies that are 100+ years old. And we had mission-driven statements, purpose statements written on pieces of paper. But you know what happened? As soon as we got done reviewing them, we got back to our desk, and what happened? We went right back to making decisions based on that one financial bottom line. Those mission statements, they really weren't worth the paper they were written on, right? Because we weren't committed to making them happen. But instead, I learned the essentials of business. I learned about marketing. I learned about strategy. I learned about sales, supply chain, finance, right? And I learned how to hone my leadership skills. And those were very valuable things. They were things I really enjoyed and I really loved. And they were things that I got pretty good at. But as I reached into my mid-30s, I had this gnawing feeling that something was missing. Because it wasn't enough for me just to sit there and go make money for myself, and then apparently through our performance for shareholders, making money for shareholders who really didn't care about our purpose. All they wanted us to do was return greater returns each and every year for their investment. It felt soulless to me. And I left work a lot of times thinking, what's missing here? What's happening? And all that changed when I came out to interview at Cliff Bar in 2004 with Gary Erickson. So Gary Erickson, Kit Crawford, they just proposed, they're the owners of Cliff Bar, Gary's the founder. They had just proposed this wild idea. It was exciting but uncharted on could we run the business based on these 5 equal stakeholders: business, brand, people, community, and planet. And think about it, that all 5, I have 5 people that run these things, and we come around the table each and every week, and we think about those 5 things as we run our business. So it's very integrated. But operationalizing this vision, 15, 20 years ago, it was going to require some tough decisions. Things like out of the gate, taking our products organic, which took 4 points off our gross margin like that, right? It was going to be building a gym for our employees. and giving them 2.5 hours a week to work out. It was going to be implementing a volunteer program for all of our employees to give back to the communities in the way that they see fit, a minimum of 20 hours a week. That's what we were asking, right? All while growing the business. Also important to note here is that Gary and Kit, at this time, had walked away from selling their company and collecting half of $120 million, right? And to add to it, they bought out their business partner for $60 million. Interesting, right? So now we've got our two biggest players, Power Bar and Balance Bar, who get bought by Big Food. So let's get this right. We're going to be competing against the biggest and best in the industry, Kraft and Nestle. And everybody's telling us there's no way you're going to compete with these guys. We've got a mountain of debt, and we're investing in things that don't seem like they're going to drive the top line anytime soon. So this is the situation that when I arrived at Cliff Bar, I arrived to. Perfect, right? Like a no-brainer. You'd all run to that opportunity, right? But when I sat there and I heard Gary talk about the 5 aspirations, I thought, man, this is exactly where I want to be. Yeah, there's some risk here, but this is it. This is the thing. I can put my practical skills to use, my values, and I can lead in a place to really see if we can make this happen. We called it a grand experiment because we had no idea whether this was going to work or not. But we knew that we were going to put our hearts into it and make it happen and give it everything we had. So today, I realize as I look back on it that I was ready to help Gary and Kit because of my training earlier in my career. And that practical experience that I was able to garner along with my values and the company's values enabled us to push that forward. And I look at the world today, and I understand as well as you guys understand that business has to be a place for driving positive change in the environment and our social issues. Businesses causing these issues, those days are gone. And if companies continue to be on that side of the equation, you are going to hold them accountable and make sure they don't get away with it. Oh, thank you. But to create big change, we need big ideas, right? And then we need leaders with the practical skills and the values to bring those ideas to life. So I'm in my 5th year as CEO at Cliff Bar, and I can tell you that some really tough decisions come with this job. Any CEO is going to tell you that. But if I were managing to just one bottom line, that financial bottom line, there are roadmaps for that, right? There's thousands of books written on it. We've been doing it for hundreds of years. There's a lot to know, but when you start getting into that world of making 5 aspiration decisions, it gets a lot more challenging. Because how do you value a volunteer program? How do you put value on someone who's working out in the gym? Or at the time, 20 years ago around organic, which the National Organic Program had just become established. How do you put value around those types of decisions? But those decisions are going to require leaders with practical decisions and leaning into their values. And even then, you have to believe that by keeping the tension tight on those spokes, that wheel is going to run smooth for you. And at your core, to be in this business and to run a business this way, you have to believe at your very being that by doing right in the world is going to be right for your business. And there will be gut check times along that entire journey, but if you keep the faith and you keep the belief, that will come true. So last year, I led Cliff Bar on this huge leap. We built our first bakery in Twin Falls, Idaho, by far the largest capital investment we'd ever made, over 90+ million bucks. And when we went into this, we knew that there wasn't a roadmap for this. There was not a manufacturing facility that was built to LEED standards that also had floor-to-ceiling windows to let natural light flood in to the workplace, right? To connect people to the outdoors. There wasn't one that offered an on-site gym for every employee to work out with trainers. There wasn't one that offered an organic cafe, right? Instead of just tossing pastries out in the workroom. You can see the organic cafe up there and to the right. Every time I go there, I'm like, God, if I'd known about this place, I'd have gotten married here. I mean, it is gorgeous. A place that paid 2 times the minimum wage and also had a volunteer program for every employee, hourly and salary, to give back to their communities. There was no map for this thing, right? And all those unique attributes that were a part of this facility also cost a lot more money. You can imagine, right? So, you know, I had to balance everything that I'd learned with purpose and to be able to make sure I was able to manage with purpose and profit. Because there is discussions there that need to happen. But I can tell you, a year later on this facility, it's been up now for about a year and a half, I couldn't be more pleased. I sit there and I look at it, and our retention levels at this bakery are unheard of at manufacturing. I mean, they are a fraction of what other companies deal with. And you can think about some of the benefits that generates, right? No retraining, people getting ownership of their work, some of the stuff Shannon was talking about earlier, how they're staying connected to what matters to them. Our output, way over what we thought. Our costs, way under what we thought. And all this was because we led with our values as we went into that facility. And that was one of those gut check moments, right? Are we going to spend, tens of millions of dollars more on this to connect it to our values? And are we going to get the return on it? The answer was yes and yes. But I think the bigger picture's even more important than talking about just that bakery. So 20 years ago, when we went on this journey, Power Bar and Balance Bar, 2 big competitors 20 years ago, had over a 50% market share. And Cliff Bar was a 15. 1-5. You fast forward over these past roughly 20 years. Cliff Bar today is a 33% market share. Power and Balance, and that's in a category that's more than quadrupled. Power and Balance are at a combined 6% share. So I ask you, would Nestle and Kraft have loved those results? Answer's yes, right? But did they have the people with the skills and the passion to lead those purpose-driven decisions? They didn't, right? Because they were managing back to that one bottom line, not those 5 holistic ways of going back to the world. So today I'm asking you, don't over-engineer your path to purpose. It's okay if you don't start at the perfect place. That's all right. Give yourself a break. You know my story and my path to purpose. And our founder, Gary Erickson, he was living in a garage at 33 years old when he launched Cliff Bar. So there's no perfect way to start this career. So ease up on that. This is a path driven by passion, not place, right? Get out there and learn the job you want to learn. Learn about the industry that you want to learn in. Hold tight to those passions. Start learning and challenging the status quo in those environments and start to make changes. And most importantly, develop the skills that you're going to need to challenge and lead a company like Cliff Bar into the future. So let me tell you, you are already, the fact that you're here, you're already way ahead of that chubby-faced, full head of hair kid, right, who didn't have a clue. I got lucky, right? I got a bit lucky because I was able to find it. I was hungry for it, but I also got lucky because I came out to interview at Cliff. You guys can be way more intentional about this path. Don't overthink it, but you can be intentional for how you go about, regardless of where you go. Because purpose is not a place you go, right? Purpose isn't a place you go. It is a mindset that you carry with you through every aspect of your life, through every minute of every day. It is a journey we are on, and it is a craft we are always refining. Thank you very much.